Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very interesting episode of the Radar. The episode where I'm talking about 6-7, 1967. That is. Um, I'm talking about the year 1967, and I'm going to be talking about the music that was released in that year. This is going to be a great episode. Um, yeah, 1967, what might be the best year ever for music, in my opinion. As someone who's a huge classic rock fan, sorry, my mind's a bit frazzled. For one, I can't see out of these, and two, you know, but yeah, so 1967. 1967 is obviously from the 60s. it's it's the late 60s year, a pretty important year for a lot of musicians and a lot of it's an important year for the world. It was the year the first Dorito was released, which is real. It was the summer of love. There was a lot going on. So, and in my opinion, it's one of, if not the greatest year for music. So why don't we dig a little bit into what was going on in 1967, and and this is a real test for me. Or this is what happened in 1967 around the greater world of music. Around the world of music, and then we'll dig into the music. I could just close my eyes the whole time. So, what was going on in 1967? Well, there was the war in Vietnam was still going on. That was pretty tragic. That's not laughable. Now, the war in Vietnam was still raging on, which a lot of people protested and was horrific. But that was a very important part. Is a lot of people were becoming aware of the tragedies and the war going on overseas. And so there were a lot of protests. There was huge protests still raging on in that year, and including the people protesting Vietnam and people protesting for civil rights for people of different ethnicities and people of different identities. And beyond that, there was still a huge music scene going on in 1967, which included the whole psychedelic period of the world just kind of exploding in color. You look at a lot of the music in the early 60s, and good job, in the early 60s, and you see a lot of like Sugar Sugar or My Girl She Loves Me Too, that type of music. And then later on, somehow in the same decade, you get to Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone. Like, the fact that music evolved that much in that short of a time is ridiculous to me. So, I mean, how long is it from when Sugar Sugar came out to the Rolling Stone, Like a Rolling Stone? It must be 6 or 7 years. So without further ado, let's get actually into the music of it, because I think I've kind of painted the scene. For example, one time actually two things I want to mention here. I used to dress like this regularly. I've had this shirt for a while. During COVID is kind of when I found my sense of self and my sense of fashion. And I've had these glasses since then. I've had this shirt since then. You can't tell, but I'm wearing bell bottoms and cowboy boots. I got the whole thing on. And it's delicious, and I love wearing stuff like this. But it's very 60s-y, so I'm obviously trying to show off the fashion. In retrospect, I should have brought a lava lamp. A lava lamp. I have a lava lamp. It was actually the first thing I ever spent money on that I earned. But another thing I want to mention, I had another thing. When I was first getting into music, like properly, the 60s was the first genre that I really got into. In particular, 1967 was one that I learned was like one of the greatest years for music ever. Not just in terms of like the artists that were making music, but the songs released, the albums that came out. A lot of the time, if I'm reading about an album or an artist or something, it tracks back to 1967, which I'm excited to get into and I'm excited to break into. So I guess, yeah, there's no other way than to get into it, into the vibe of 67. So I do have here in segment 1, I did have your guys' answers, which usually I put at the end. But I did put a poll on my Instagram, and only like 3 people answered. If anyone in the studio wants to answer right now on my Instagram what their favorite song or album is from 1967, it's not too late. But some answers I have right now include Heavyweight by Yeet. Ari, he didn't do that. And then the other two answers are from Logan. So thank you, Logan, for answering. I realized I put this pretty late in the game. I did basically all of this last night. I did have this idea for an episode for at least 2 days, because why wouldn't I talk about 1967? It's probably relevant now more than ever. That's what everyone's talking about, is 67. Um, I'm so sorry. Anyway, Logan posted his favorite songs from that decade, or from that year, sorry. Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, Forever Changes by Love, Suzanne by Leonard Cohen, and Darlin' by the Beach Boys. Haven't heard of them. But I actually, you know what, sorry, my mind's a bit scrambled, if you can believe it. I'm a little all over the place. I'm neither here nor there. But in terms of what the songs sounded like in the 1960s, I paid some respect to the psychedelia of the 1960s and how it kind of peaked in 1967. A lot of this youth rebellion, that one wasn't even intentional. The rebellion of that year was all over the place. It was seeping through the music. The music and the culture, the pop culture, was showing in not just for the adults and for the kids, but for the teens. There was this brand new youth group that wanted to express themselves en masse. So you had millions of baby boomers who were born after World War II ended that want to express themselves in brand new, exciting ways. TV was suddenly in color, you know? It was so exciting. And it was like, instead of, actually, this is kind of funny, as I watched a YouTube, this is the most Alex Ray thing I'll ever say. I watched a YouTube video essay about Austin Powers, and the guy who made it mentions in it that what's unique about the 1960s is that instead of looking backwards and being nostalgic for the past, while there was some nostalgia, a lot of what's great about 1960s pop culture is it's forward focused. It's a lot about where the future is going, man. You know, it's about, it's either the future or the now. A lot of the now. A lot of that hippie culture comes from being awareness of what's going on right now and what will be going on in the future, which you can't say for a lot of other decades, especially post 60s. There's a lot of nostalgia for the 1960s, for the 70s, for the 80s, a lot of that. But, you know, we haven't really had a decade in a while that has been like, let's forget about the travesties that happened in those decades. Let's focus on the now. Let's focus on creating new music in new, crazy, freaky ways. And that's a lot of what 1967 was all about, was about the exploration, the experimentation of these new sounds, of theremin, of bicycle horns, of plucking piano keys, and so many of reversing tape forward and backward. There's so many different ways that the 60s evolved, and 1967 might be the epitome. A lot of people say that the 60s ended when Martin Luther King got shot in 1968, and that's a great way of looking at it. Not a great way of that's a good example. I think a great way of looking when the 60s truly ended. So 1967 is like hippie culture and the summer of love at its peak. I do have to take a drink of my water, if you can believe it. And so, like, it is worth mentioning that the summer of 1967 was the summer of love, specifically June. That was a whole big part of the culture at the time. That there was just, again, like I said, this gigantic number of teenagers with this feeling of empowerment, feeling they could take on the whole world. And so a lot of them did. A lot of times you see teenagers throwing this up, or you see them with the peace sign, you know? And so that's what it was all about. And the music reflected it. So also, I want to mention obligatory Monterey Pop Festival. That's like the Woodstock of 1967. Woodstock was 2 years later, if you didn't know. But there was a lot. This was, like, in my opinion, one of the most future-forward times for music. So why don't we actually? I think the glasses have gotten through. I need to put on my real glasses. Did I put them in here? Please tell me. I don't know where they are. So. Oh, they're right here. I put them on top of the other ones. 6, 7. So, just making sure everyone's paying attention. Holy, I can see. So, yeah. So let's talk about songs, right? I have that in my notes for the episode. What did you guys answer? The vibe of 1967. Yeah, I'll cover a few songs in particular. Respect by Aretha Franklin is one I do obligatory have to mention. Rolling Stone magazine ranked it. Actually, you know what? I have a perfect bit for this. Sorry, hold on. I should have planned this ahead of time. In case you couldn't tell, I like doing bits. Yeah, okay. So here's the bit. good bits are explained beforehand. Respect by Aretha Franklin was ranked as the greatest song of all time at number 1. And in case you were curious, Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt was at number 67. That didn't come out that year, but that is worth mentioning. Some certain songs not by notable artists, at least to me, are A Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum. Great song. That's an excellent song. Inagata Davida. That's a great song. Excuse me. San Francisco, Be Sure to Wear Flowers in Your Hair by Scott McKenzie is a great example of like, if you like needed prime 1967 and the hippie movement and the summer of love and what that looks like, that song is basically it. That was written by John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas, who also released an album that year called Deliver, including the song dedicated to the one I love. That's a great song. You Keep Me Hanging On by Vanilla Fudge. That's a great song. The whole album, I'll mention this album now because I'll forget later. Time of the Season by the Zombies is like also one of the greatest albums from 1967, which includes the song Odyssey and Oracle is the album name. The song, it came out in 1968. Never mind. But the single Time of the Season came out in 67. That's fine. But there's a lot of really good music. That's the whole point, is that there was a lot of injustice in the world, a lot going on, and there's a lot to be talked about when it comes to the particular musicians and bands that were notable in the year of, really teeing you up here, 1967. Coming up after the music break, we'll be talking about my favorite specific albums and artists from 1967. Please don't forget that you can follow us on social media at the DCSA Media Hub. You can follow me on Instagram at AlexRae, that's R-A-E. You can follow this show on Instagram and Twitter at the Raedar Live, also R-A-E. In the meantime, we're playing you 3 songs that I feel like really exemplify the vibes of it. I'm going to tell you like backwards chronologically. We're going to end with Pictures of Matchstick Men by Status Quo, incredible psychedelic song. Respect by Aretha Franklin, but we're starting with I Think We're Alone Now by Tommy James and the Shondells, live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca. Hi.
Children behave, that's what they say when we're together, and watch how you play. They don't understand, and so we're running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hand, trying to get away into the night, and then you put your arms around me as we tumble to the ground, and then you say, I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. Look at the way we gotta hide what we're doing, 'cause what would they say if they ever knew? And so we're running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hand, trying to get away into the night, and then you put your arms around me as we tumble to the ground, and then you say, I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only Pictures of Matchstick Man and you. Melodies of Matchstick Man and you. All I ever see is them and you. You in the sky, you with the sky, you make men cry, you lie. You in the sky, you with the sky, you make men cry, you lie.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the episode of the Raedar where I'm talking about 1967 and the music that came out that year. I do want to mention, and this is real, this is a real thing. Right now, at least 6 or 7 people are watching the show. So, Yahtzee, you do... That was a bonus. I do want to mention that the last segment was pretty average length, I think, but like about half of it was part of about naming songs that came out that year that were notable. You may notice that actually let's backtrack a bit. Last episode and this episode, basically, that was completely by accident. Yeah, sure, why not? Were basically sister episodes because that episode was basically about calm down about 6-7 as a treat. That episode was about music from Canada that I like, and it started with songs, and then I moved on to albums and artists. This episode's a little different because this is when the album era started, which is a real thing. Thanks to people like Bob Dylan and the Beach Boys and other groups, they started making albums for albums. You know, it was more focused on the album as an art style or an art piece or as a medium, as opposed to just a song, or a single, which was huge and is actually a big part of why I think this is such a good year for music. So, for example, it's hard to mention 1967 without mentioning one of the quintessential albums of that year of music ever, which is The Velvet Underground and Nico, which is maybe one of the most influential albums of all time. You know, I realize in retrospect we could throw up the album cover, but I forgot. But that includes the songs. It's the banana one. You know, the album cover with the banana is that one. It's the banana. Sunday Morning is from that album. Femme Fatale is from that. Venus and Furs, Run, 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 Heroin. A bunch of really, really good tracks. I've always wanted to get into Velvet Underground, but I just don't do it because I just haven't yet. I'm pretty sure they don't even have that many albums. I'm pretty sure they only have 6 to 7 albums, which I could knock out in an afternoon. Other albums I do want to mention, The Doors by The Doors, maybe one of the greatest debut albums of all time. They released 2 albums in 1967, which is impressive. But I do want to mention their self-titled one especially, because that is an incredible album. Break On Through to the Other Side, Soul Kitchen, The Crystal Ship, 20th Century Fox, Alabama Whiskey Bar, Light My Fire, Backdoor Man, I Looked at You, End of the Night, Take It As It Comes, in the End. Oh my God, like only 2 of those songs I feel like I couldn't even hum, which are I Looked at You and Take It As It Comes. Quinn, you're a big Doors fan. Can you hum those? Do you know how those go? No. But like 20th Century Fox, yeah, right? This is bangers. Incredible album. The Doors are incredible. Obviously, Jim Morrison is great. But I do want to give a specific shout out to their second album, which apparently even houses their most popular song ever, which we will play you later. Their second album is called Strange Days, and that came out in September of 1967, and includes the track People Are Strange, which I think is a perfect song, and that's obviously worth mentioning. Love Me 2 Times is also on there, which when I hear that song, when I think of that song's name, I think of Family Guy. 6-7. And then beyond that, we have basically all of the Jimi Hendrix discography. Maybe not all of it. Are You Experienced came out that year, and Are You Experienced is like quintessential 60s. Like your 1960s playlist would be incomplete without Jimi Hendrix and the album Are You Experienced, which includes tracks like Purple Haze, which we opened, Hey Joe, Manic Depression, Foxy Lady, incredible. Highway Chile. It's probably not Chile. The Wind Cries Mary, Fire. Like this was like Jimi Hendrix was Mr. Psychedelic 60s, and for good reason. And like there's no album that I feel like summarizes the raw electric psychedelic appeal of 1967 better than Are You Experienced by Jimi Hendrix and the Experience. On the opposite side of the spectrum, though, we have Songs of Leonard Cohen, which is an album I reviewed on Album Roulette, which is really excellent. Songs like Suzanne, Master Song, Sisters of Mercy, So Long Marianne, Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye, and I thought there was one more, but no, those are excellent. Like those are really, really good songs. They're solemn. They're what's the word? They're introspective. They're beautiful. Like seriously, really, really good. If you don't like Leonard Cohen, you don't know ball. Famously, it's also his first album, so that's incredible. Forever Changes by Love, an album that is so quintessentially, take a drink every time I say quintessentially. That's probably the thing I'm saying most this episode. I've probably said it 6 or 7 times this segment. But yeah, Forever Changes by Love is quintessentially 60s. That's number 4, I think, for those counting at home. Apparently Quinn's keeping track. She just threw up the ba ba ba. Is that meme? That's that meme, right? Okay, thank goodness. I'm not too unk. But Forever Changes by Love. I accidentally wrote Forever Alone. What does that say? Yeah, Forever Changes by Love has like Alone Again Or, which I know is one of Logan's favorite songs from the 60s. He did put that on there. The Daily Planet is great. A House Is Not a Motel. But for specifically Alone Again Or is like the song. Because like you have an album called Forever Changes by Love. That is so 60s, baby. That's free love, man. That's peace, man. Obviously, Axis Bold as Love, another Jimi Hendrix album. That's incredible. There's one obviously I really want to mention, but I don't want to mention it too yet because I feel like I'm going to spend a decent amount of time on it. Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane. Fun anecdote about that album. I don't know if Quinn remembers this, but they whipped out the song White Rabbit randomly, wanting to show me it. And I said, oh, White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane from Surrealistic Pillow from 1967. I knew that album like that because it's such an important album to this year. It's like the album of 1967. But yeah, that album is really, really good. Somebody to Love is incredible. White Rabbit is incredible. Did we already play You? We've already played that one of them, right? We played a song by them. Let me check. If no one's listening. That's okay. Everyone's listening. No, we haven't yet. We're going to play you some, though, soon. But those songs are really, really great. White Rabbit and Somebody to Love in particular. But that whole album, Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane, is so 60s. In fact, I had a thing I wanted to mention. Oh, here's a fun fact about Jefferson Airplane. They evolved into Jefferson Starship, who made the song Jane, that you might be familiar with, and then evolved into just Starship, which made the song We Built This City. So if you're familiar with Need Somebody to Love, Megan knows it. That group evolved into We Built This City, which is incredible. 2 totally different sounds. Jeff Buckley's dad, Tim Buckley, made the album Goodbye and Hello, which I think I only know one song from because of Baby Reindeer. Random shout out. Let me take a quick gulp of my juice here. Oh. And I would be remiss. I gotta talk about it. It's 1967. Okay. Not get ahead of ourselves. In 1967, which is the album Piper at the Gates of Dawn by Pink Floyd, which if you were a Pink Floyd novice, you may think, what? What's a Piper at the Gates of who now? Piper at the Gates of Dawn was their first album, recorded at Abbey Road Studios, and it is excellent. It's led specifically by Syd Barrett. So what you know as Pink Floyd, if you've only heard like Dark Side of the Moon or Animals of the Wall, or Wish You Were Here, this is a totally different sound. This, again, is so psychedelic 1967. And it's all over the album. It's got the hazy, crazy guitars. It's got the experimentation. Some of the lyrics in this era are so psychedelic and mean very little, but also are like, they mean so much at the same time, man. Like, there's a song here. I actually half sang the first couple lyrics to it while I was writing the script next to my mom last night in the living room, and I said, "I've got a bike, you can ride it if you'd like," and my mom thought that's really funny. Quinn knows bike. That's the new ball. Oh, she knows bike. But I've got a bike, you can ride it if you like. It's got a basket, a bell that rings, and things that make it look good. That's some of the best lyrics of 1967. Other great tracks from this are Astronomy Domine, which is actually, I believe, was featured in Doctor Strange, the movie. Interstellar Overdrive is excellent. Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk. Pow R Talk H is great. Matilda Mother is excellent. And one of my favorites is the very simple, very sublime, very short The Gnome, which admittedly doesn't represent a lot of the crazy, hazy, psychedelic 60s very well, I don't think. But it's such a cute little novelty song. It's about a gnome. And the lyrics are, I want to tell you a story about a little man if I can. A gnome named Grimble Crumble, and little gnomes stay in their homes, eating, sleeping, drinking their wine. It's just cute. There's so much weird novelty and just like progressive moments in 1967. Wait a minute. This came out in 69, right? Don't do anything for that. Okay, we've lost control of the plot. I thought In the Court of the Crimson King came out in that year, but it didn't. It came out in 1969. Still a great year for music. Steady there. But I think that's, I don't want to say that that's about it. Let me look at more albums from that year that I feel like are worth mentioning. If anyone has any that they want to throw out at me in the studio in my headphones, or anyone in here, by the way, feel free to throw it out at me. That is worth mentioning. I do want to mention Bob Dylan's John Wesley Harding, which is really good to mention. The Byrds. The Byrds are really good. The Byrds, the Boyds, the Years. No, not the Years. The Byrds, the BYRDS. They have an album from 1967. They were super psychedelic. I don't think, do they have an album? Fifth Dimension, which came out a year before, was really psychedelic and really valuable to that sort of style. Let me go to page 2 here on Rate Your Music. Oh my God, Disraeli Gears by Cream. Incredible album, which, by the way, I saw that face, Quinn. It only just clicked while you did that. That's funny. Disraeli, which has Ray in the middle of it. I reviewed that on Album Roulette. You know that album. You know Sunshine of Your Love? Who knows? Raise your hands if you know Sunshine of Your Love. Do, 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 do. Here, obligatory so you know he knows 6-7. Okay, well, he had his hand up. So, but also Strange Brew is really good from that album. Other than like the hits from that album, though, it doesn't really scratch me silly. But the album art is psychedelic. Tale of Brave Ulysses is also really excellent from that album. I feel like that covers a good part of it. I don't know if there's much else. Buffalo Springfield, but nothing of the hits yet. Yeah, I'm going through here, and there's not much to mention. Obviously, a lot of music came out in the 1960s. Okay, Rolling Stone has an article. Let's see here. Okay, well, you know what? I will obligatory mention Smiley Smile, Wild Honey, the Beach Boys. Go watch that episode. Those are great. Oh, Quinn's actually giving me points for that. Okay, guess I'll talk about that for the rest of the episode. No, but those are really great. Wild Honey. The Bee Gees' first album came out that year. That's worth mentioning. Tim Buckley, Goodbye and Hello. Buffalo Springfield, I already said. The Byrds, already. Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band. I've never listened to Captain Beefheart, but with a name like that, you can't go wrong. If you were there in 1967 and saw an artist named Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band, I feel like you'd be stupid not to listen to it. Disraeli Gears. Mellow Yellow by Donovan. Donovan is like not talked about by anyone who's not in the know, but people who are into the 60s kind of know Donovan. Donovan is like that weird cousin that you see at your family reunions that make you go, oh, right, he was there too. He went to India with Mike Love and those other guys. He was like there for a lot of different things. Donovan, Mellow Yellow. Fun fact about Mellow Yellow. Actually, I don't want to mess this up. I want to make sure I get this fact right because I read it the other day. And I want to make sure because it's kind of an insane fact about it. So the song Mellow Yellow is about smoking dried banana skins, and the soda Mellow Yellow is named after this song, which means it is, to my knowledge, the only soda brand named after smoking, which kind of fun, kind of cute. Don't know how Dr. Pepper feels about that. What was that? There's ghosts in the studio. The Four Tops. You know this? Yeah, Four Tops. Honey pie, sugar pie. Yeah. Okay, we got some fans. Some Four Top fans in the audience. I'm actually giving away tickets. No, I'm not. To the Four Tops. A lot of the music that I love from this era, by the way, distinctly reminds me of Forrest Gump. Maybe one of my favorite movies of all time. That is such a great soundtrack, and that song is in it as well. Aretha Franklin, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You, which obviously has respect. The Grateful Dead, Jimi Hendrix. The Hollies, Evolution. So that's extremely psychedelic. Do I know anything from that album? The Hollies are excellent. The Hollies, shout out the Hollies. Oh, apparently Sabrina Carpenter has an album called Evolution. Why would I prefer that over the Hollies? Sometimes I don't get Spotify because I can't pay for it. I don't know how much it is a month now, $6 or $7. Yeah, okay, I don't recognize any of the songs from that album. Jefferson Airplane, they've released, people used to release 2 albums a year. Whatever happened to that? Oh my God, something else by the Kinks. That's worth mentioning. The Kinks are excellent. The group, something else has, well, actually, I don't recognize any of the songs from this, but I do want to mention the last song on the album, which I do recognize, which is their most popular song? No, it's their 5th most popular. Waterloo Sunset, which we'll close the episode with later. But Waterloo Sunset is incredible. Either you've heard it and you love it a lot, or you've never heard it. It was performed, I don't know why I said that so sassy. Either you've heard of it and you like it, but Waterloo Sunset is incredible. If you've heard it, you loved it. It was performed at the 2012 London Olympics by Ray Davies from the Kinks. It's just a beautiful song. I think the Kinks are like the group of, songs by them, you just don't realize songs by them. Like the do 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 do, that's them, or do 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 do, that's also them, or Lola, which is just an incredible song. I don't want to keep going too long. Oh my God, Brown Eyed Girl, Van Morrison. That's a specific song, but that's incredible. That's a great song. Piper at the Gates of Dawn I talked about. Procol Harum I talked about. Rolling Stones released the album Between the Buttons, which I'm not familiar with. Rolling Stones also released Flowers. Again, people used to release 2 albums at a time. What's wrong with you? Velvet Underground I covered already. The Who, Sell Out, which is one of the cutest album covers. There's your homework. Look up the album cover. I think that about covers it. I don't want to keep going a little too long here. Coming up after the music break, instead of talking about your picks, which I have written in the script because I already did, did someone in the studio answer on my poll? Let me check very quickly and I'll tease it. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Deborah. Deborah threw in one answer. Unfortunately, I did already say that answer, but I will say it again. That's fine. I'll say it even 6 or 7 more times this episode for all we know. I got to be quicker on the draw. Please don't forget that you can follow us on social media at the DCSA Media Hub. You can follow me on Instagram at AlexRRae, that's R-A-E. You can follow this show on Instagram and Twitter at the Raedar Live, also R-A-E. In the meantime, here are, again, reverse order. We're going to end with People Are Strange by the Doors, which I think is a perfect song, and you might recognize from the Lost Boys. That's right, I know ball. White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane from Surrealistic Pillow. But we're starting with, if you can believe it, the same group that made Dark Side of the Moon, Matilda Mother by Pink Floyd, live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca.
Why'd you have to leave me there, hanging in my Inverness, waiting? You only have to read the lines, it's scribbly black and everything shines.
Across the stream with wooden shoes, bells to tell the king the news. 1,000 misty riders climb up higher once upon a time, wandering and dreaming. The words had different meaning. Yeah.
mother gives you, don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. And if you go chasing rabbits and you know you're going to fall, tell 'em a hookah smoking caterpillar has given you the call. Call Alice when she was just small. When the men on the chessboard get up and tell you where to go, and you've just had some kind of mushroom, and your mind is moving low, go ask Alice. I think she'll know. When logic and proportion have fallen slowly dead, and the white knight is talking backwards, and the red queen's off with her head, remember what the Dormouse said. Feed your head, feed your
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. All right, yeah. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this episode of the Raedar with my friend Dakota Wilson Cook,
Hey,
who's been here the whole time. I think you may have noticed a couple times. Whenever I'd mention 6'7", it would. You're good. It shows continuity. It's a match cut. You okay?
oh yeah, no, I'm just like so used to cutting to you over there.
That's true. The episode where we're talking about 1967. So, do you want to tell me about your experience this episode so far?
Yeah, I mean, like I've learned I've listened to you talk over there. It's like I've learned a lot of like albums that came out that year, like some popular ones. I've also like learned that doing 6'7" so often is a really good like pec workout.
I'll do it for you when you say it.
Oh, thank you. But And hearing like some of like the songs that you say like their most popular songs
Yeah.
come from that year, it's pretty cool.
Exactly. Do you have any favorite songs from that era?
I do. You've mentioned a couple of them. Lola's a pretty good one. I like that one.
Lola's great.
I'm a Believer.
Excellent song by the Monkees, featured in Shrek. We did get some additional answers, which includes, let me find them here. Deborah says, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, which is an excellent song. I always think of Guardians of the Galaxy when I think of that song. Anything else there you got?
Yeah,
Okay if you don't.
like Give Me Some Lovin' by the Spencer Davis Group.
See, I think that was featured. Have you seen the Blues Brothers?
No.
Okay, well, I think that's featured in the Blues Brothers. So I think I know that song.
Okay.
Worth mentioning songs that came out in 68 or 69 that didn't make it.
One to reverse 6-7
Oh, yes.
is Dirty Deeds.
Done
by
Dirt Cheap,
Done Dirt Cheap is by AC/DC.
which came out in 1976. Is there a... I was going to say, is there like an opposite you could do? Can you like lower the... Yeah, there you go. You do that for 7/6. Some songs from 68 that didn't make it, All Along the Watchtower. I Heard It Through the Grapevine, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, Born to Be Wild. I do want to mention my favorite country song, Gentle on My Mind by Glenn Campbell. I don't even know Glenn Campbell.
I do.
Love that song. He's my favorite country artist. That's a great song. I don't know if there's anything else worth mentioning. You did want to mention Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall, because Pink Floyd is excellent. I did mention Pink Floyd. But other than that, I feel like we're cutting it pretty close. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Did you have fun?
I did have a lot of fun.
You got a good workout?
I got a good workout. I got some elite ball knowledge given out.
Of course.
To me,
And now you got a class to go to, and your
Now I gotta-
arms are going to hurt so bad.
yeah.
Do you want to do one more together?
I would love to do one.
Okay, it's
Ready?
on one. 3, 2, 1.
6-7.
Oh, what a life I live. Thank you so much. You're
Thank you.
such a sweetheart. That's the end of our show today. I look forward to seeing you back here next week. Please don't forget that you can follow us on social media at the DCSA Media Hub. You can follow me on Instagram at AlexRA. That's RAE. You can follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at the Raedar Live, also RAE. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Dakota Will _ like WIL. And that's it.
Epic. In the meantime, closing out the episode from 1967, here is Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks, playing us out live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca.
Dirty old river, must you keep rolling, flowing into the night? People so busy, make me feel dizzy. Taxi lights shine so bright, but I don't need no friend. As long as I gaze on Waterloo sunset, I am in paradise. Every day I look at the world from my window. Chilly, chilly is the evening time. Waterloo sunset time. Waterloo sunset time. Terry meets Julie, Waterloo Station, every Friday night. But I am so lazy, don't want to wander, I stay at home at night. But I don't feel afraid, as long as I gaze on Waterloo sunset, I am in paradise. Every day I look at the world from my window. But chilly, chilly